Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. As always, I am joined by Jim and Alberto. How's it going, Jim?
Not too bad, sir. How about you?
Crazy
Did I
busy.
catch you off guard?
Crazy busy. Just, as always, I'm busy because I like to stay busy, but I feel a little more busy right now than I'm normally accustomed to. So, yeah, but overall, life is good, and I feel good about everything that I have going on. Just lots going on. So what's new with you? What's you were talking about a nap earlier that sounded really good.
When you need a nap on a Wednesday, you may be hitting a rough patch in work. I think everyone in the world, I think we're all ready for a nap.
Mm-hmm.
This whole COVID thing, yes, I broke the seal and said it first, is just wearing on people in so many different ways. And I was saying before we came on that my boss reached out to members of his team today. And I think, judging by the group text that we got tonight with the joking memes and humorous verbiage in there, he realizes that maybe we are all kind of hitting a wall of sorts and trying to get regrouped and get back in gear. So today was day 15 out of 17. So it's been a fairly steady time, and you do what you got to do, but you also hope that there's an end in sight in some way, shape, or form, and not really seeing that on the horizon right now. So plug and chug, and away we go.
Absolutely. Berto, how's it going with you? I know life has not slowed down for you either.
No, much like you, I actually ended up taking a day off just so I can catch up on work. So yesterday was insane. I finally got around to painting my wife's van. She had a little scratch and a crease down the side of it that's been bugging me forever. So got that taken care of. Got a bunch of side work taken care of. Just garage workouts continue. They're considering it's all zero equipment and all body weight work. The way it's programmed out is extremely challenging. So that's enjoyable. And other than that, man, just another week, just moving along, working and, waiting for this thing to end and shops to get busy again. They're turning around slowly, but, most of the guys that I work with and train during the day job, they're all on commission. They get paid for what they paint in these collision centers. So when they're slow, everyone's slow. So, for their sake, I want them to get busy because then everyone makes more money and everyone's happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when they buy more stuff, they buy more stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of is a perpetual motion machine there. Yeah, I've got lots of editing projects going on. We wrapped up a video for my wife and her saxophone ensemble earlier this week, and that was a fun one to get to do. I am currently working on mastering a worship service for this coming Sunday. I've got most of that mixed down at this point. We did some recordings last night, kind of get a little more refined version of a couple things to make it just a little bit crisper, a little better on the harmonies and bass and other instrumentation, things like that. Just some little tweak stuff, but because we have that chance, we're pre-recording, we get a little window to make some corrections. It's always a good thing. So that's going on, but we've got plenty. I've got podcasts to do still and everything else. So lots and lots of things going on here. But yeah, life is good and busy and keeping healthy, and all of that is excellent. So all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into our shout outs of the week. Jim, let's start with you.
So my shout out is to a gentleman from Sulphur, Oklahoma, Sam Walters, who is sporting a TKMC t-shirt. In his profile pic, this is a Transformation Tuesday from a week ago in the group. says the best part of losing weight is that each stage of the journey feels good, from the first 10 pounds to the last one. And each time you go down a size in clothes, you feel the best you can remember. No specific numbers on, well, yes, there are, excuse me. He didn't write it in the post. He actually put it in the picture. At the top, he was 300 plus pounds, 3XL shirt. Today, he's at 228 in a 1X TKMC shirt and looking awesome. So kudos to Sam Walters of Oklahoma, representing the club out in the OK.
Absolutely. Alberto, how about you?
I'm going to go with our good friend Jonathan Shane, also known as the Keto Road. I believe he was about to embark in his second bodybuilding competition, which obviously did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still plugging away. He said down 50 pounds in 23 weeks for his competition prep. Last 11 pounds were in quarantine. And now he's just looking forward to a photo shoot and just treating that as if that was his competition, and just keeping his eyes on the prize. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yep, absolutely. He had dedicated pretty well to his bulking phase, and he still looked muscular, but you could definitely tell that he had been working on both muscle and just in general bulking up, and he has removed a ton of that in this very relatively short period of time, and he's looking fit and lean. Definitely encouraging to those of us who feel like it might be a challenge and whatnot. And he's had all sorts of ups and downs along this journey too, that have been factors that he's had to take into account because of his history of bulimia and things like that. He's having to fight the mental battle as well as the physical battle, and he's at home and doesn't have access to a regular gym, and all of these different things coming at him during this time. It's pretty inspiring to see him continue to work through all of that, and even though there are potential changes that he's been seeing, he keeps hitting it and keep pushing through, and that's so very awesome. I am going to shout out Dennis Pidgen, Pidgen. That one's a tough one to get out. He posted a kind of a before and after, and he says the comment is what stuck out to me, and actually maybe we can chat a little bit about this amongst ourselves. He says, "My mom told me before she passed I'd never get my weight off. Sometimes it takes heartbreak and negativity to spark a fire that can't be put out. Keep killing it and never give up." And he posts his before. He's pretty big boy in that, before pic. And now you see these pics of him working out, and he's fit, trim, ripped to shreds. We hope to be able to actually get him on the podcast hopefully soon. But he's just doing a bang up job, and his post of this negativity that was something that he's like kind of, oh hell no, in response to, sometimes it really does. It takes someone saying those types of things to us. What are you guys feelings on that? What's been your experiences? Alberto, what's your thought on that?
No, I mean, this one's, it's different of a post because, he says right at the front, right? He says it right in the very beginning of the post that it's something that his mom told him before she passed away. So clearly that's got to have a different motivational effect than someone who's just trying to lose weight for the sake of losing weight. But for someone that can turn anger and frustration and negativity into motivation, I mean, that's pretty much how I go about my life for the most part when it comes to some of the stuff I did. We talked about it when I ran the marathon about, when I had hit, mile 10 or whatever, and that first video recording when I was just pretty much screaming at myself inside my head, and I just try not to scream out loud so that the people running around me wouldn't think I'm a psycho. but I mean, it can be done. It's all a matter of channeling your energy, because negativity is going to happen regardless, and you can either take it and kind of like cower away with it and go into some bad habits, or you can take it, face it, use it as fuel, and really push yourself beyond what you ever thought was possible.
Jim, any thoughts to add to that?
I definitely think it is a personality thing. You either have it or you don't. And I say that because I don't know that I do. When I 9-10 years ago was doing a boot camp, and it went from like chicken and vegetables to protein shakes to eventually the fake bread and minimal calories and sitting in a sauna for an hour a night kind of thing to sweat everything out of your body. That just got, it was competitive. There was cash involved. There was all kinds of stuff. And fought. But I go back to that periodically because I did really well with it and then eased up just a little bit we weighed in every 2 weeks. And the 2 weeks afterwards, like one night I went out, had a slice of pizza with friends and a beer but was still doing like 800 to 1100 minutes of cardio and weightlifting a week kind of thing, was biking 15, 20 miles a day and went back for my 2 week weigh in after I was at my lowest point and I'd gained 10 pounds. I'm like, what, how, what, why, where? I mean, just so it's something that where you've got to hang on to the success and not beat yourself up when you do hit a stumbling block or whatnot. But it's also an example of how everybody's body is different and everybody responds to things different. And you got to fine tune what works for you and then capitalize on it as best you can.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm probably somewhere in between. I have this redheaded fury that I've somehow tried to keep under wraps at times. But there are times when it's like, hey, how the heck? No, stop it. And I kind of get after myself and that can drive me forward at times. But I don't do that all the time. That's not my primary mode of operation, at least. And so it is interesting to see that from others, turning negativity into positivity. I think that's a very good thing that for those who need it, maybe there are people I know for a fact there are people that give far too much into the negativity and whatnot that can whirl around us in life. That negativity can be turned around and become a positive or give us positive results from it. And so hopefully more and more people will do that as they go through their journey. Well, we do have a guest this week, and so let's dig into him. We want to respect his time, but he's got a great story, we know, and so we want to dig into that. Kieran, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So give us a little bit of an introduction of who you are, what do you do, where you live, all of that, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah. My name's Kieran. I'm a firefighter paramedic from southeastern Virginia in the Hampton Roads area. Been doing that for almost 10 years now. Grew up at the beach and moved over into York County once I joined the fire department.
Very cool. And so how long have you been in the fire department?
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years. That's awesome. And you're, so tell us a little bit about your health journey, kind of where it started and maybe any lows that you had in that.
Yeah, sure. Growing up, I was always a heavy kid. I have a twin brother, and it was always the joke that we were like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito from the movie Twins. Because he's about 6 foot 6'1", and I'm 5'8", so we're complete opposites. I've always been heavier. He's always been kind of a beanpole, real skinny. So we never looked like twins, let alone brothers. Growing up, everyone just thought we were buds. Then when we told them we were twins, that they couldn't believe it. But so I was always the heavier kid. Being overweight kind of ran in the family. My mom's side of the family, everyone was kind of a little overweight. So, but I never really worked out. In high school, I played sports, but never worked out. In college, played intramurals, never worked out, kept eating, drinking, finally graduated college, and found myself at the heaviest I'd ever been, 265 pounds. And, it took a comment from one of my exes, who stayed my ex, by the way. But she mentioned.
Wow, we've got that dig in already. Good deal.
Well, everyone always says, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. But So one of my exes said, I can't even put my arms around you anymore. And I thought, well, shoot, I never thought I was that big. And then that started just kind of this tornado of fails and successes and good diets and bad diets and the right way and the wrong way. And it went on for a good long while until I joined the fire department, where getting put into a station with 12 other guys who have 12 opinions about eating and working out, I was able to kind of see everything for what it was and see what was working for people. And I tried my own thing and was up and down, because it's, being in a firehouse is just like college. It's, the freshman 15 all over again for those first couple of years, because every meal is a Sunday, home cooking meal every night of the week you're at the station. So until I found keto about 2 years ago, my wife actually brought it up. She wanted to try it. And I thought that was great that we could do something together. Up until then, nothing stuck and nothing was consistent. And we definitely weren't consistent until we found keto.
Why did you have trouble with consistency? Was it just not feeling it each time, or it didn't? What was it?
I've had an issue with binge eating and food addiction my entire life, and never knowing what it was. It just never thinking about it until now. Looking back, I was always eating. If there was food out, I was eating like I wasn't going to be able to eat tomorrow, and just continuously snacking all the time, and never knowing when to say, hey, I'm full, I should probably stop. And then it rolled into college, and with no parental supervision, I ran up the meal bill on my college card, and the drinking and things like that. It was like a social thing for me. I've never smoked in my life, but I imagine it'd be the same as people that smoke socially. If I was being social with people, I was eating or I was drinking something.
When you were you eating healthy ever at all, or was it just whatever food was on the counter you jumped onto?
No, it was whatever was available to me, I was eating. I remember after I graduated college and came home, I was living on my own, and I'd go to the store and I'd go food shopping. I'd buy the normal stuff, a mid-20s kid would buy DiGiorno pizzas, chips, whatever. And I'd eat a whole DiGiorno pizza and a whole bag of Doritos. I'm talking the family-sized Doritos for dinner. And that was a regular thing for me. And it never dawned on me that, hey, maybe you're eating too much.
Mm-hmm. Seems like you got that pretty well under control now.
Well, it's crazy. Looking back on it, because I didn't know when it was all happening. I never knew what was going on inside my head, inside my body. I just knew that made me happy. Like that, I was full, and that made me happy. And now looking back at it mentally, I was all over the place. There was no one checking in on me. I didn't have a girlfriend at that time. I didn't live with my parents. I was living alone, so nobody was telling me, hey, this is probably not a good decision. I felt like I had a good job at the time, and looking back on it, it wasn't that great of a job. And so I think growing up, I had all these highs in my life that were able to mask the eating disorders that I had. Like in high school, I was on the varsity baseball team, so I thought I was high on life. I was playing varsity baseball. Nothing could be better. In college, I was president of my fraternity. I was going to all these meetings with the deans and other presidents, and I thought I was doing good in that aspect. I wasn't thinking about my eating or my drinking. You know what I mean? And then after college, I got a really nice internship, and I never had to look at my food. I never had to look at what I was eating, because I thought in the other aspects of life, I was doing good.
So let's get a little psychological here for a moment. Was food a replacement for something?
Was food a replacement? I think it replaced everything, because I didn't go out that often. I stayed home and I ate or I drank and I watched TV and that was, I didn't
that
need,
was life.
I didn't feel like I needed social interaction because I was eating, and I was comfortable doing that.
You say you're 5'8", you were hitting about 265. So what's that? 2XL, 40-inch waistline kind of thing, or do you recall exactly?
Yeah, it was 2XL. Yeah, yep, exactly, 40-inch waist. And it's funny. I remember I remember hitting certain points where, you know, the 36s or the 38s were a little too tight. And I remember, you know, thinking about it and rationalizing, I should probably just get a bigger size. I would just be more comfortable. It's probably better for me. And then I'd go buy a 40-inch pair of pants and this feels much better. I'm glad I did this. And I would do that. And like I was saying, you know, cycling through good and bad habits, you know, because I would get down in weight sometimes, and I'd buy a large, you know, extra large shirt and then a large shirt, and I'd wear them and they'd be great. And then the next season I'd slack off and I'd put more weight. Oh, you know what? This shirt's getting a little too tight. Maybe I'm building muscle. Maybe I need to go up in a size. I'm like, oh yeah, that feels right. And then, well, that extra large feels better. I should probably just wear this again. And then, you know, you get comfortable in that extra large, and then before you know it, you're back in a double XL. And it was 4 or 5 years. I'm buying brand new clothes every season because I threw the old ones away because I thought this was it. I thought I was going to stick to it. And so I got rid of all the bigger clothes, and then next season comes and I can't wear the current clothes anymore. I got to buy new clothes. It was ugly.
So, and I know that struggle way too well, because that's exactly what it was for me. It just kept creeping up. And, you know, there at the very tail end, my wife is like, okay, you need a 42. And I'm going, seriously? No, I can't do that. It's already bad enough I'm, you know, at 40. You know, that type of thing, you know, just that. And so it creeps up, and it's crazy how that slow growth will sneak up on you, and you don't realize it until you get that mirror image, that moment of looking back at yourself through someone else's eyes.
Right. And it's crazy how comfortable you are with that progressively getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger until, like you said, either see it in the mirror for yourself or someone else sees it for you and lays it out.
So what was that for you?
It was a challenge. Someone at work wanted to start running and wanted to run a race. And I said, okay. They were a good friend of mine. I said, sure. Yeah, we'll train. We had set out for a half marathon. They do one in Virginia Beach every year. And so we started running. And when we first started running, I got half a mile and then I had to walk. I think the first day of training was like you had to run for 15 minutes and I couldn't do it. And so we made it through the training, and it stuck with the running stuck with me. It was something that I really enjoyed. And so I continued with it, signed up for a marathon, trained for that, ran it. And, so I kept with the running, and I lost, all the weight because of the running, and it wasn't because of diet, because I wasn't eating. And this was where being uneducated with food came in. I wasn't tracking at this point. I knew nothing about macros, but I was probably eating less than 1,000 calories a day, because I remember stocking up on like lean pockets, and that was breakfast and lunch most days. And
health
still
food.
Running. What's that?
Health food.
yeah. It has lean in the name of it.
Then it counts.
Right. And still running, 8 to 10 miles a day sometimes, and then just coming home and eating a lean pocket. So obviously the weight was dropping real fast, but I had no energy, no real muscle mass at all.
So running like that, were you involved in any kind of athletics or whatever in junior high, high school kind of thing? I mean, it's hard for people to just start running. So did you have any kind of muscle memory?
Yeah,
okay.
I played baseball in high school. And unfortunately there was no real extra effort. That sounds bad to say, but like if it was baseball season, I was playing baseball season, but there was no off season workouts for me. I remember always showing up to the first week of tryouts and being completely sore at the end of the week, like crawling to first base if I got a hit. But I don't know where the running thing came from. Maybe it was just all that training leading up to that first race. And because I stuck with it after that.
Uh-huh.
And then it started just being a challenge for myself. My mindset changed. I was happier because I was losing weight and I felt better. I wasn't, so sore all the time. I wasn't, out of breath all the time, and I was working with kids at my current job. So that was getting easier for me to play with the kids every day. so then I started challenging myself for longer runs or different things where I'd go out for a run and then I'd take my bike out and ride my bike and then come back and go for another run or something like that. Just these little things that I could challenge myself with to try and get better, I guess.
Great.
So all this was on your lean pocket diet. When you started keto, were you still at this very light weight, or had you rebounded and gone back up?
No, so the race that when I first started running, that was back in, I guess, 2008. Spring of 2008 or 2009. And like I said, I continued to run after that. And I was about 5 years into the current job that I was in, and I was hanging out with a buddy, and he had been applying for fire departments. And in our area, there's a bunch of fire departments. It's just hard to get in your first time. And so he had been applying a couple of times. And I think this was his third time with the current department that we're in. And he had said, "Hey man, I know you don't like your job or you're looking for a change. If you should apply with me." So I did. And luckily I got in with him and we went through the academy together. So, I was about 6 years in the fire department before I started keto, but I kept all the weight off during the academy and during these first couple of years in the fire department, just because it's like, it must have been the masculinity or whatever, but it's always it's a bunch of dudes hanging out and they're all working out, and you don't want to be the smallest. You don't want to be the slowest. You don't want to be the fattest. So everyone's just kind of keeping up with each other. And it wasn't until keto that I really figured out how to kind of capitalize on, energy stores and workouts and certain purposeful movements, around the way I was eating. Because back then it was just regular chicken and rice 6 times a day. You got to eat right after you work out and all this stuff. Just a bunch of information that I didn't understand. You know what I mean?
No, that's what everybody was doing. I mean, that's
Right.
how it was done, or I should say that is how it is done still for a lot of people, because I'm still in a bunch of random fitness groups on Facebook, and it seems so foreign now. So, see someone like, "Oh yeah, meal number 1, chicken and rice and broccoli. Meal number 2, rice and chicken and broccoli. Meal number 3, broccoli, chicken and rice." And it's like, not that it doesn't work, but it's a little painful.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
And my wife thinks that there aren't options on the keto way of life. Only actually, she would say there's plenty of options on the types of food that we eat. It's the texture. Everything in she needs that crunchy, and pork rinds doesn't do it for her. So it's kind of it's kind of one of those things. It is what it is. So tell us a little bit about you're turning this around. You get on keto. You start doing this thing. You're doing it in the firehouse. You've got all these guys all around you. Did they react? Did family react? What was that like early on, and kind of as things progressed?
So my first introduction to keto was actually a buddy told me about it at a cookout we were at, and this was when I was doing like a if it fits your macros, and I was weighing everything pretty religiously just to fit the carbs, fats, and protein, and I was doing okay with it, staying fairly lean. And he told me about it. He said, "Yeah, I'm eating a bunch of meat and butter." And I remember telling him, "You're crazy, man. I don't know how any of that works, and that was it. That was just my dumb ignorance. And I didn't look into it after that. And I kept doing my if it fits. And, my wife is the one that brought it up. She said, "Hey, I've been reading about this keto thing. We should try it." And I said, "Okay." So we did the research. We jumped in, and, it was working for us. And I think I was on a break from work, maybe a 4-day break or maybe vacation. I remember going back to work thinking, what are these guys going to think? Because every firefighter's got an opinion, and it's always the right opinion. And they will rib you about anything and everything. New haircut, new car, whatever. So I was like, man, I don't know how it's going to go over. But the good thing I had going for me was I do a lot of the cooking at the firehouse. And a lot of guys, they'll show up for dinner, and if it's in front of them, they'll most likely eat it. So that worked to my advantage, because I can cook keto meals, and then I can just throw in like a tray of fries or something on the side. So they were actually pretty welcoming of it, and we got a bunch of people involved actually in keto. So we're about half and half at my station, people that are eating keto and the people that are just eating regular. But we have, I would say, I would say probably close to 20, 25 guys in the department doing keto on a regular basis. I'm talking about at the station and at home with their families. So it's been nice. Guys are always asking certain things about, like, during fire calls and at the calls that take a long time, what are your energy levels like and things like that. So it's nice that they're thinking different ways, because, cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death for first responders, other than suicide. And it usually happens after we retire. So keeping guys healthy during their time on the floor is really important, so they can enjoy the time after they retire and enjoy everything that they've built. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I can only assume from a cardiovascular standpoint and from a stamina that, I don't know a whole lot about, firefighters, but I do know that you guys got to carry a lot of stuff on you. So I can only imagine that, once you're fat adapted and rolling, that's got to be extremely beneficial.
Oh yeah. We carry about 75 pounds of extra gear every time we go into a house fire. And you're only in there for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. But for me, I mean, I come out tired, but I'm ready to go again, where, some guys might be hunched over, huffing air, but being fat adapted, you're always pulling energy from somewhere. And you talk about the guys that have completely switched keto and they're fat adapted. They're talking about how they sleep better. They're waking up earlier in the morning. Our wake up tones go off at 7:30, but these guys are getting up at 6:30 just to get up and hang out. And they're talking about their energies all day long. The naps are less, because we can nap at some times during the day, but these guys are working out instead of napping, and they're working out fasted. They're not eating until 1 or 2 o'clock, sometimes not even until dinner time. So it's obvious how their bodies are adapting to this way of eating and how beneficial it is for them.
Well, we need to pause for a moment and say there's nothing wrong with a good nap.
Yeah, hey, sometimes you just got to get one in.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that. So, you mentioned, and I kind of figured that this was the case for you with the firehouse thing. I've got lots of friends who are either EMTs or in the firehouse and have, like, there's one family, a father and 2 sons, and they're all 3 of them have either been through the force or retired from the force and all that stuff. And that camaraderie has to help along the way, even if they aren't doing keto with you, which I'm glad to hear that half of them are and half of them aren't. That makes dinner a whole heck of a lot easier, probably. But what has that camaraderie and that team member aspect been in terms of you regaining your health?
Oh, I mean, I imagine if I was doing something that I thought was good for myself and everyone was kind of turning their back on it or sneering at me while I did it, it would make me feel, insecure or think twice about it. But, because everyone is so welcoming and interested, and then also trying it out for themselves or to get the messages that say, hey man, look, I've been trying, I got to get this weight off. I see it's working for you. How can we do it? You're doing it at the station. How can I do it at my station? Things like that. And these are big, burly men who, if I ran into them on a dark alley, I'd be scared. But these guys are saying, hey man, I need help. I need to lose some weight. Tell me what you're doing. How did you get your guys into it? You got people texting. I had a member text me and say, thank you for all your stuff. Me and my wife are now working out. And she's sending me pictures of her and her wife, day 23 in a row doing something, and that, I think that's awesome. And I don't post all my stuff to show off or to say, look at me, I lost all this weight. It's about showing people that are just like me that they can also, change their life and change their health and still fit it into these busy lives that we lead.
Very well said.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next? And you don't seem like the type of guy that likes to sit still.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying. I just got done with Danny Vega's carnivore keto cut, and I found out some interesting things about myself with carnivore that I like. So I'm sticking with carnivore, and I've extended the cut was for 4 weeks, and I manipulated the numbers a little bit. I'm extending it for 10 weeks, so I want to see what happens with that, and then try some reverse dieting as we get into the summer. I just started a podcast with a good buddy, John, the Keto Colombian. Not really keto or carnivore based, but a little bit just, a life thing, just talking. But other than that, nothing's planned, just trying to see where this all goes. I'd love to start teaching about keto in the firehouse and doing cooking stuff for the guys at the firehouse. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Have you noticed one of the things we hear repeatedly from guys doing keto is the mental clarity and that feeling of getting a groove again with your mind and whatnot? Have you heard that from any of your colleagues that didn't expect that to happen, so to speak?
Yeah, it's fun. I have. They tell me they're more like when shopping for food, they're thinking more clearly about certain things. Honestly, with me, the mental clarity thing never stuck. I never really felt that, I guess. I think it's more conscious choices. You think about things more as you're making these choices. Because I have 3 kids at home who aren't keto. My 14-year-old tried keto for 3 weeks, almost a month, and he actually had some pretty interesting comments about type of sleep, how he felt in the morning, doing his homework, where he benefited from it. He said he slept better, he had more energy in the morning, and when he was doing his homework, he just felt like he wanted to finish it faster. And then we ran into the holidays and it all went out the window. But so we have our pantry is split with keto stuff and then the kids stuff. So what I do notice is if I'm hungry, I go in there and I look at the kids stuff and it all looks really good. The donuts and the Doritos, it all looks really good. But mentally, I'm talking myself down. I say, that's not for you. Go to the other side of the pantry and get your snack. So I think it's more of an awareness thing for me, not necessarily a mental clarity, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So taking a step back, I'm a big fan of carnivore, in case you haven't noticed. But
I have. Yeah.
I wanted to dig a little deeper into what your experience with carnivore, what you learned, and what you benefited from it.
So the big thing that I found with carnivore wasn't anything physical. It was all mental. It really showed me how deep-seated my food addiction was, and my ability to binge eat. Because the main way I have found success is complete elimination. Tell myself I can't have it, and then that way I won't eat it. And that was what carnivore did for me. I eliminated all these other foods because even with keto, I found myself binge eating keto approved foods. But you eat enough peanut butter or enough Quest bars, you'll quickly go over your carb limit for the day. So with carnivore, it was nice that, I had meat and I had eggs there and I had some cheese. And if I wanted something to eat, that's what I could eat. But on a physical standpoint, I found really great pumps in the gym. Even by doing body weight exercises and high rep, I found like I had really, really great pumps. Even 2 to 3 hours after getting home, still very vascular after the gym.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's one thing I always tout about carnivore is it is a really, really good way to figure out how your relationship with food is, because you'll start craving some really weird things that you would never have thought twice about before. And then you stick with carnivore long enough. And what I always found fascinating was my longest strict carnivore streak was 6 months. And what I always thought was crazy was the only thing I craved in that entire 6 months was another steak. All other cravings, I'd get hungry, I just wanted steak. And I'd eat a steak and next meal would come and I wanted another steak. It was the strangest thing, because you'd think you'd get sick of it. You'd think you'd have cravings for other stuff, but it's your body knows what it needs. Your body knows what it wants. And all I wanted to eat was more steak. It was very, very interesting.
The thing that I found to work the best for me was to have to have steak or have ground beef on hand, because I found that cooking, if I took too long cooking, if I was really hungry and I needed to cook a steak, I would snack on stuff while the steak was cooking. So it was nice for me to have it ready to go in the fridge to eat when I wanted to eat, because snacking is a big thing for me that I have a lot of trouble with.
So how do you deal with that? Because I'll be honest, I'm the same way. I deal with snacking all the time. I have salted sunflower seeds on my desk right now. Mm-hmm. So how do you work with it other than having things on hand? How have you kind of broken the cycle?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't broken the cycle. I have good days and I have bad days, and I justify snacks some days when I shouldn't. I'll justify by, what, I ran 5 miles today, I can have a snack. So it's a struggle every day. And, I wish I could say I've had, 7 days straight of no snacking, but it just doesn't work out that way. But meal prepping is the easiest, is the best thing for me, to make sure I'm successful for the day. And also, if waking up in the morning and tracking all my macros for the day. I find if I lay it out first thing in the morning, I'll stick to it more so than if I wing it throughout the day.
Having a plan. If you don't have a plan, it's a plan to fail, or what's that? Right,
yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Failure to plan is a plan to fail. There we go.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a very real thing. And I think I that's definitely been my problem lately, is I probably have just been completely go with the flow. And some of that's, I have so many other things going on that I feel like I can't make a plan for anything else.
And there's so many of these, keto approved snacks that are out there, and they taste really good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That and the myriad of energy drinks that have no sugar at all, but those just support my desire for sweet things. And
the energy thing is a tough thing to break too. It's running rampant through the firehouse with the bangs and the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
What you spoke about your twin brother earlier and how you guys were Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Is it still the same thing now? I mean, there's a height difference, so that obviously you can't fix, so to speak, or whatever. But is he a string bean still? Did he ever struggle with his weight?
No, he in college he gained weight in college, but at home he's pretty active, surfing and skating a lot, and he runs randomly now, so he's not overweight, but he's not a string bean anymore. He doesn't lift like I lift. It's just not his thing. But yeah, he's still. We still look completely opposite. I have a full head of hair. He's losing his. We couldn't be more opposite. It's ridiculous.
Watch where you go with the hair comment, okay? Be very, very careful, young man.
Hey, I was gray at 23, so I mean, I'm pretty much fully gray now.
I'll take it. No problem. No problem at all, brother.
So, tell us. So your workout routine. You are probably actually the fortunate one out of the three of us. We don't have gyms currently. You have the firehouse, and usually most firehouses have some type of a gym set up. What is your normal workout routine? What's is it when you're not at the firehouse? What do you normally do?
So I'm still big into running. I have another marathon coming up in the fall if it doesn't get canceled. So running's a big thing. And then I have minimal weights at the house. I do have a bar with I think 280 pounds of plates that I can do deadlifts and things like that. But I also have a vest and a brute force sandbag that I use on a regular basis. So most of my workouts are either a high intensity interval or like stations with supersets and running in between. Something that I can get done in an hour while my youngest is napping, because all the kids are home now. So I got to fit it in when I can. But like Alberto was saying with the body weight stuff, The body weight circuit training is intense.
It most definitely can be, and not that I'm not familiar with body weights, but I think I just needed the structure behind buying a program that was exclusively body weights. That kind of just like, okay, now this, instead of just just walking in the garage, just kind of making stuff up as I go. And you start supersetting just a couple of the simple movements and adding variations to push-ups, and you'll take what you could normally do. Let's just say for round numbers, you could normally knock out 50 push-ups. Well, you add a slight variation where you just pick up one leg, or once you get to the top, you just pick up one arm, and all of a sudden your 50 push-up max goes down significantly, and it's quite humbling.
Well,
a lot more coordination than I was expecting. I am a lot less coordinated than I thought I was.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said when you get a program to lay all the exercises out. Because for a while there, I was very hesitant on getting any kind of program, paying money for anything, because I do coach some people online, and I thought that maybe I was above having a coach. And so I sat down and thought about why, certain things that were happening, why I wasn't hitting certain peaks in my workouts. And I decided to hire or to join the Danny Vega, the cut with his program. And so following a routine every day that was mapped out for me did wonders, because like Alberto said, just going out and winging it and trying to figure it out, it just most days didn't work for me. I found times where, I wasn't really worried about the rest period because whatever, and I was like, I did enough probably. I'll just stop here. But when you have a program that you've paid for and you're following it, it's almost like he's watching you. You're like, I got to get it done. I got to do it, And so, I told Danny, I said, man, I looked at your first week of exercises and I wasn't too impressed. And he said, that's what everyone says. I said, but those workouts sucked and they kicked my butt every day. He says, yeah, usually the ones that look good on paper are impossible to finish. And it's the ones that they have you second guessing on paper that are the really good ones. And that's exactly what it was. They kick my butt every day. So I'm incorporating some of his stuff into my home workouts, and I write them on my dry erase board. And I sent a picture to my oldest, my 14-year-old. And I said, hey man, if you want to work out, you can, and he gets out probably 3-4 times a day in the garage, but he likes to close the garage. He doesn't want anyone seeing. Where I like to have it open. I want that sun coming in,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one of the things that I noticed about the Keto Muscle Intelligence program that Berto and I was doing. It's freaking hard. We did the beginners, and it's freaking hard. There's reasonings for that, but it just was. Gosh, it was just a slog. It was a great workout.
Right.
But it was just such a slog to get through on all of that. And so I can totally relate to the looking at that list. And I have the Carnivore Keto Cut documentation as well. And it's deceptively hard what's in there. So yeah.
Well, that's when you put the focus in. You can run through the movements and be like, yeah, that was cool. But if you try and you really put the focus in, you focus on the muscle contraction, you focus on the movement and doing everything with proper form, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this,
Well,
there's there's a way to cheat a push up and there's a way to do a real push up.
Well, and Danny wasn't even focused on that whenever I first tried the keto carnivore cut. Like that, he wasn't even. The Keto Muscle Intelligence wasn't out, so there wasn't as much of a focus on that. And now that I know all of that, it's like a whole different ballgame beyond that. So I've got to really get into those. I'm enjoying my workouts with Kung Fu, but I miss lifting and all of those things too. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start winding things down. One of my questions I like to start that I like to use towards the end is resources. You've obviously found resources that you've found have helped you the most throughout all of this. For whether it's beginner, intermediary, what are some of your favorite resources that you've latched onto, that you keep going back to, that you give to other people as they're trying to dig?
So I'm not big. I enjoy reading, but I don't like reading about this stuff, if that makes sense. So I'm big on YouTube and podcasts. So like YouTube, I like watching Goody Beats, Logan Delgado, Thomas DeLauer, Keto Savage, Robert Sykes, does a really good podcast. Muscle Intelligence, the Keto Man. I like listening to people talk about what they're doing in their regular lives. Like I like knowing that people are out there like me going through this, and I like to hear what works for them. Because I could listen to Ben Pakulski all day long, but that dude's freaking jacked, and I probably can't. My day that looks nothing like his day. You know what I mean?
So yeah, those are some great resources and good friends of ours. Robert's been on the podcast, and a lot of those other folks have either been connected with us and or we just know of them, and they are great folks for sure. So lots of great resources there. I don't think I asked this. What did you find that was surprising along the way? Like, what was that one thing that shocked you? Is like, oh, okay.
And this might not be a good thing or not, but the forgiveness with the diet. Because like I said, I've been doing keto for 2 years, and by no means, I don't want anyone to think that is 2 years straight. There have been some ups and downs, and there have been some downs that took a week or two, and but the body remembers what it wants, and the body remembers that it wants to burn fat for energy. So on those cheat days that I had, or the times that I got off, it was quick to get back into ketosis and to start feeling like I felt before the holiday or the cheat weekend or cheat meal. And that's what I tell a lot of people, if you can stick with it for a little while, and then you want to go on vacation and enjoy yourself, and it's easy to get back in. I was very surprised what the body is able to remember.
Absolutely.
One other thing I want to ask you about, you talked earlier about the food addiction and, eating everything in sight and so on. Now that you're doing keto, you've had the success and everything, you said you still find yourself snacking and whatnot, but do you find the urges go direct to keto food? Like, do you want to snack on cheese cubes as opposed to potato chips, or whatever the case may be? Or do you still fight the battle for the potato chips and the Doritos and the pizza kind of thing?
No, I don't, and that's a good thing. My cravings, or when I want to binge, they do. Especially, and it depends. If I'm locked in, if I've been locked in for a month of strict keto or strict carnivore, my urges send me towards those types of foods. So yeah, like you said, the cheese cubes, or we usually have a gallon Ziploc of bacon in the fridge, and so it'll send me to that and the pimento cheese. So luckily, that's working for me. Yeah. So because we have the Doritos and we have regular ice cream and we have the tasty cakes, but luckily, yeah, my urges send me to the keto food, which is nice.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really. It is crazy how our bodies will tell us what it needs, and sometimes it's like in the moment snack. I've noticed that if I'm feeling the craving for cheese, it probably means that I actually want protein or need protein, and that will actually serve the craving far better than it would if I was trying to if I did eat the cheese. So having some ground beef around is a good.
But even with not even hunger telling me what to do, like if certain little things like a headache or feeling sluggish, if I just take some more salt in or lick a salt crystal, and I would never have thought to do that until my body said, hey, you need to up your electrolytes or whatever. And it's crazy. The instant, within 30 minutes, I'm feeling kind of balanced again.
Yeah. Yeah. Electrolytes and that type of thing, they really do play a very big factor in so much of the day-to-day, moment-to-moment balance that we have that we don't even realize
they're
until
a lifesaver during a fast.
Absolutely. That's an interesting thing. We hadn't talked much about it, and we don't talk much about it on the podcast. What type of fasting do you do, and extended, and if so, how extended?
On a regular basis, I'm usually intermittent, 16 to 20 hours a day, and I have done some 24-hour with the OMAD, but the OMAD doesn't really work for me. I tend to usually overeat and just feel sick at the end. But I have done some extended, a couple 72 hours, and then I've done 100 hours. I think it was 104 hours. Strict fast, just black coffee, water, and salt. And that was kind of that we did. John and I, my buddy, did it after the Super Bowl. Just kind of wanted to try it. I'd never gone past 3 days. It lined up perfectly with work, where I wasn't working, because I don't like fasting for long periods of time while I'm at work. I usually always only do it on my days off. It helps with limiting just my eating window, because the food addiction is still there. It's a battle every day, wanting to eat everything. So like I was saying before with carnivore, eliminating certain foods. If I eliminate all food during a fast, I'm going to stick to that more so. So I'd like to do more extended fasts. It's just finding the right time, because I would hate to put my guys at risk if my electrolytes drop low and I become too tired to do something. I would hate to endanger them just because I'm doing a fast.
And what is your go-to keto food recipe, whatever, that's not steak?
That's not steak. It's poppers. The jalapenos are basically my only source of vegetable at this time. And it's one of those, we have them at the firehouse at least twice a month. And I only work 10 days a month at the firehouse. So usually every 5th day we do poppers and cheeseburgers. And that's the easiest for me, ground beef, bacon, and jalapenos. I mean, I wish I could say something fancy like brisket, because I love brisket. I just don't cook it as often as I'd like to.
Mm-hmm. You don't got 20 hours to spare?
No.
I thought you could microwave brisket.
No.
You can try.
You can certainly try. It would be horrible.
Hitting
5
that
minutes on high,
200 degree internal temperature might be a little tough in a microwave.
Oh, that sounds so horrible. That's like a religious sacrilege of Texas, right there. That
could you imagine though, like if you tried it, like that head would have to come out like a giant like hunk of leather.
It would be. Oh.
You'd have to send it through a grinder after that
or something.
We have a community about an hour south of where I live that went through a major renovation about 10, 12 years ago. A large company basically bought the town, turned it into this destination spot and everything. And my boss went down there for this big opening weekend thing. And I mean, just huge. I mean, casino and PGA style golf course, all this other stuff. And they went to this fancy restaurant for dinner for steak. And you can do all the crazy things that you want to build up a community, but the staffing, you can't really take the country out of the staffing. So they brought out these fancy steaks, prime rib and everything. Like, y'all want ketchup on these? And everybody's just like, do you really do this? Oh, yeah, prime rib's so good with ketchup.
Oh, boy.
So, no, I will not nuke a brisket or anything like that for anybody.
Very good. Well, Kieran, how can people connect with you and plug everything, your new podcast and just everything?
Yeah, the main stuff that I do is on Instagram, the Keto Firefighter. That's where I put most of my stuff. I do have a Facebook page for the Keto Firefighter as well, and a website that's still being built, still trying to figure out this whole social media thing. But yeah, we just started a podcast. It's called Forged from Fat. We have our first episode will be up Friday on iTunes. Me and the Keto Colombian, just talking everyday life stuff. But yeah, most active on Instagram if you want to get a hold of me.
Very cool. And you are in the groups, so definitely people can reach out to you there, and
yep.
we look forward to seeing how people can connect with you further and see you as a resource, because you're definitely doing awesome stuff. Let's go around the horn real quick. All of us are in the group, of course, and so that's a given. But where else can you be reached, Alberto?
Instagram would be the next best place, and that would be at l.ketocholo.
And Jim?
My home address is Because you know what? If you're on an essential employee, never mind. Instagram, Jim Inman, JR, and of course the Keto Man's Club on Facebook.
Very cool. And I am at Duckman Keto on Instagram. And I always say I need to post more, but I do need to post more. Anyway, that's how you can get a hold of us individually. You can connect with the the podcast on Instagram by following at Keto Man's Club Podcast. And you can email us comments, questions, inquiries at ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. You can also get all of the links to everything, the Facebook groups, the Facebook page, podcast subscriptions, all of our social links by going to theketomansclub.com. And from there, you can connect with us, and we urge you to do so. If you have a moment, go ahead and leave us a rating, leave a comment, either on Apple Podcasts. I believe Spotify has some of that as well. It just helps the algorithm along, gets us put in front of more faces, and the stories of men like Kieran are able to help impact more lives that way. If you have a comment or question that you would like to voice, we have a voicemail line for you, 512-518-6161. Call it up, leave a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you, and maybe it will be used in a future podcast. So definitely take advantage of that if you would. We'd love to hear from you in a very literal sense of the word. I think that's it for now. So until next week, make sure to eat meat, lift heavy, sleep, and repeat. Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.